Okay, so starting right now, we talked about the SMT in the morning, right? From that drop that happened right here. And then the next thing is step one is where is the ABS DGX magnet? Right now, it's currently at 5340, right? That's always the most basic one. Obviously, we have some interest below, right? This isn't something to kind of like not take note of or ignore. So there's definitely some interest below, but at the same time, it's that SMT happens. So right, if you have the main magnet and you have the SMT that happens, right, you can always take that trade. That's still a high probability setup that I'd always recommend taking because it happens a lot, right? And with that being said, it works pretty much, I want to say like 70, maybe 68% of the time, it'll play out properly. Next thing is when NQ took out these highs, right? You heard me on live saying like, okay, I think sorry, right here. Oh shit. That's not what I want to do. There were relative equal highs here. And you know me, I always talk about relative equal highs and how that plays a role in terms of like bias and direction. So on top of the SMT, you have relative equal highs on, and even right here, I believe you had relative equal highs. Yeah, right here. So these are just the small things to look out for, right? So you did have relative equal highs on both indices. And on top of that, you had SMT at the bottom with the ABS DGX magnet above you. So it's kind of like, okay, those are the main things in terms of like, okay, you could have captured a smaller move. As for this move, it was a little bit tougher to read, right? If we go back to that end of day, because that's where we were on live, we had vol reversion right here. I think that was R1, right? If I go back to SPX, shrink this down. Oh, no, that's the right one. Yeah, that was R1. So if you go to the back to the PA on R1, right? It's super sus, honestly, just given that you get candle closure above, right? And then instantly down. Candle closure above, instantly down. Candle closure above, instantly down. What is the second overlay graph in the gray and blue on the right-hand side? This? Or are you talking about this one? Oh, this is vol suite. It's like an indicator that you can add on. It basically shows you volatility. Vol suite, SUITE on TradingView, I believe. Let me check. Is it an indicator? I don't remember. Something like that. You can ask Liquidos because that I personally don't use that, but you can to talk about volatility. Okay, next thing. Um sorry, I have a really big headache dealing with so much shit. But anyways, go back to SPX. Okay. So the main thing is once you got to close over, right? We talk about basic price action concepts, and the main one is always going to be like, okay, a close above and then use a support or resistance, right? Or use a support in this scenario since we're waiting for the long above, right? So none of these closed above afterwards, right? Remember, I always talk about like, okay, what's the best way to show confirmation? Is that the next candle after you close above is basically closing above and holding above, right? Does that make sense? So in this case scenario, this is the only time in which it did that. All right. Same thing with right here. When we got to close above, the next candle immediately dumped back below, right? So you want to make sure, in my opinion, when you're basing it off like price action and levels, is that you want to wait for the next candle. Just because you get a close above doesn't mean shit. You want the next candle to show that it's respecting the level, right? So these two candles afterwards show that, okay, we closed above on both. We retested below on both in both times, and we basically are now holding this level and respecting it in comparison to this time and this time and this time, right? Does that make sense? These are just basic price action that like most of the time you'll start how do I say it? These are like basic price action concepts, right? That most people tend to forget. It's not, at least from my experience, you always want to base it upon the next level or candle closure, right? So like something like this, in my opinion, is great. And obviously in that situation, you would have gotten rugged. But yeah, that's like basic support resistance and candle tracking. So perfect. At least people here know. But yeah, those are the situations where it's like you'll take those. Me personally, if I didn't get in what you go long before the news dropped. Yeah, I was long before this candle. I was long before the auction. I actually longed 50 retest right here. So I longed and got dropped on right here. And then I added down here. And then got this move and then was green and then got stopped out on runners right here on that drop down, which is super annoying. Would have been a fucking like 60K day with my sizing, but it is what it is. That's why I was omega frustrated. So shitty trading day. And then on top of that, other shit on top of it. But yeah, so like if I had gotten better entries down here, it would have been better. What made you go long? 50 was the magnet all day. Like 5350 was the magnet all day. And then we had been basically just wicking. So like I liked that we basically showed all this wick to the downside. In my opinion, that's strong, just candlestick pattern, I guess, if you want to call it, or candlestick price action. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We held VWAP as well, like on all indices. So I go back to ES or something. We held VWAP, yeah. Like it was solid in terms of like holding above all these levels. And the 15-minute, as you can see, not a single candle closure below VWAP. So that was a really strong sign in my opinion. But the price magnet was rather low, so it was very convincing that we would end so high. It seemed to slowly move up for the price magnet. Yeah, like today was it was an odd day. Like on top of that, dude, woke up with a massive headache. I've just been getting shit sleep lately. But honestly, all this stuff in general. So I'm low energy right now. My head hurts and everything. But yeah, I think the main one that I wish I had caught was this SMT. Yeah, and that's the market, right? You can't really, at the end of the day, if you didn't get a good enough entry and you put your stops at break even after move up, right? I talk about it all the time. Better to always put stops at break even for the time that it doesn't bite you in the ass. And that's happened multiple times. Like the contracts, my break even was 2.2. The contract still went as low as 1.6 afterwards. And I'd been sitting in the red the entirety of the day. So the moment I saw green and I saw a good that we hit like these main targets that I was looking at, it worked out. Top of that, like fucking call me cringe, but this Head and Shoulders got me feeling some type of way because of how many times Vince has called out Head and Shoulders over and over again. I saw that and I was like, huh, maybe it works out this time. And behold, it did work out. But these contracts, the 60s, did only well on the push up afterwards. But yeah, it's just overall like small little things are always going to be changing in the market. So it's kind of like you have to stick to the setup that you always take in the sense of like, okay, trim, move stops to break even, trim, move stops to break even. And I say this all the time, occasionally and sometimes, most likely like once a week, those contracts will hit, right? You just got to keep doing it, stay disciplined in that sector. Weak structures were repaired throughout the day. Yeah, overall, like this market was pretty weird. And I was targeting like London highs the entirety of the day, the morning. You guys heard me. I was saying 74 is the target. Why? Because it just seemed like market was still going up. We had hit the lower objectives for the day, meaning we took out yesterday's low on one of the indices. So it was like, okay, the next thing is okay, you can target highs, right? That's pretty much like the main thing that I was watching in terms of overall like slow days. Those are always great. Yeah. Husband Slayer is good. He's on point, bro. Don't ignore his stuff. It's always very good to watch out for. I mean, we have certain traders that we trust, and he's definitely on the list. Meta broke out, Microsoft broke out. Like if you look at Microsoft, it held all day. Nvidia was the weak one, oddly enough, today. Amazon was weak, came back. What else was weak? Google. Yeah, Google was pretty. They all came back. What else was there? Amazon. I said Amazon. AMD was weak as shit today too, but I think AMD has a pretty good chance of coming back. We swept these lows pretty much. Yeah, we'll go over it tomorrow. I promise we'll go over it tomorrow. Just been a fucking crazy hectic week, and I have a deadline on June 15th that I have to meet. But yeah, we'll go over it tomorrow. Please remind me in tomorrow's session. We'll make it all about that. So, but I don't have the capacity right now to do that. The mental capacity. I'm about ready to fucking jump off a cliff. Yeah, tomorrow I promise you we will run the volume profile and fib class, basically how I utilize them, and then go from there. Fuck, tell me about it. It's been one of those weeks, bro. Yeah, it's been a weird couple of days, that's for sure. But I'm gonna end it here. I really, yeah, my head is spinning. But sorry, we'll be on live tomorrow for FOMC and then go from there. Hopefully we nail something. I think I'll give a basis of what I think. I think we rock it for FOMC. 5315 is like a coded level that we have, so watch out for 5315. And to be honest, if 5300 stays, 5350, I mean, stays, it seems like we have a pretty good chance of like fucking piling down. Right, this is tomorrow. 5350 is massive, 5400 is massive. We do have some here, 5425, but that's raw, so I really don't give a fuck about raw. So my thought process is still, I think we can still short 5400, so long as CPI doesn't knock it out. Other one is if CPI knocks out one of these levels, maybe CPI brings us back down to 54 or 5350, we may be able to long it back to 5400. So we have our defined range. I think we'll stay within this, like maybe we get 25, but we have a 70 point range. It's pretty solid. If we get below, all right, let's say we rock it up to 5400, short it down to 5350. If we get below 5350, you have levels here, maybe even a potential for 5300. So we'll see what tomorrow shows us. Gex flip is lower down here. So yeah, we'll see. Well, once again, we'll be on point tomorrow. I want to make everyone some fucking bags. I want to hit 1000% for everybody. But that means we got to stay patient and no, we're not going to play the initial CPI move. If we miss the move for CPI, we miss the move for CPI. But I think I have a gut feeling, one of those sack tingles that we always talk about, where we rock it up and then we die off. So we'll see. Yeah. No tight stops. There's zero stops with this stuff, in my opinion. You go zero stops, you just size for zero. Whatever happens, happens. Yep. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry for a shitty fucking thing. But we'll be back on tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. As always, keep moving forward.